What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review slash out of theater reaction slash many more things, because I have thoughts about The Running Man. A huge thank you to Paramount Pictures for giving me the chance to watch this early for review, and I'm gonna tell you today whether you need to run towards this film, get it, because it's The Running Man, or you should run away. Now, listen, I love Edgar Wright. I'm just gonna say that, and I love his movies usually. I have thoughts about this one. Now, before we get into my positives, my negatives, and my final thoughts, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. And yes, I'm not clearly on my set. I'm in my car because well, there's a lot of timing issues with when this embargo lifts. So it is really late tonight. So I'm gonna give you all of my thoughts because they're fresh out of the theater. So The Running Man stars Glen Powell. It stars Colman, Domingo, Josh Brolin. It stars some other really notable faces like Cera, and I can't tell you enough how much I was excited for the film, simply for the fact that it's Edgar Wright, it's Glen Powell, it's a really cool concept, and I haven't seen the original adaptation of Stephen King's novel, but I mean, the concept sounds really interesting. Super dystopian. One guy decides to risk it all for his family and go out and win some huge money, like money that will change their lives. And it's because, well, their daughter's sick, so he wants to do it for them. And I'm like, all right, cool, I can dig it. There's gonna be some action, it's gonna be gripping. And there was action, it wasn't so gripping, but I don't even want to get negative right now, because guys, this is a movie that has some positives. So let's jump right into my positives, you guys, and let's talk all about what worked for me. And I'm saying that not saying that I love the movie, because I didn't really, but I will tell you that the movie has some good takeaways. Like, for example, it shows the capable leading power for Glen Powell. I think he can do a really good job actually in what he's been given. There's not much material for him to really chew on here. It's really just him literally running from what are called the hunters, and the goons is what they call them, that are trying to come after him and two other Running Man contestants. But he shows that he's capable. Like, there are some moments where I'm like, man, this guy is really bringing some heat right now, and I love that for him, because he deserves like a big huge break, I would say, as a leading man. I've seen him in many films, we all have, or many. Well, we've seen him in recent films over the last 2 years that showcases his capability as an actor, but here, I'm like, man, he can bring it here. And I'm actually really happy that he did I would say a good job here. Now, I don't think he did a great job. You know, I'm not even so sure I loved what he was given in terms of the material, but we'll save that for the negatives. And then when it comes to the commentary here, there's like a great deal of social and political commentary. And I thought that this movie did a really good job at not holding back. And that's really due in part to Edgar Wright. He has always sort of dropped little hints at where he lies on the political spectrum, for example. But in this movie, I'm glad he did not waste any time in basically saying, hey, there are some really greedy rich people out there, and there are people that just don't care to be humane and love on their neighbor. Now, I'm saying that, not saying that this movie has, like, for me, you know, like undertones of like Christian values and stuff like that, because this movie definitely rubbed me the wrong way in that regard sometimes. But the movie definitely does a good job at letting you know, hey, this is what could happen if the wrong people are in charge, running a network, a television network that preys on the innocent, the underprivileged, and the needy. So I thought Edgar Wright did a really good job in that regard at getting his message across to the audience. Now, there were also some moments where I thought that, technically speaking, the camera work was pretty darn good. You know, they did play around with being on a live TV broadcast and then also in real time. So the movie doesn't do a bad job at balancing two things at once and two different styles of filming and whatnot. You know, I don't think the action was filmed poorly. I thought that it was easy to track. And I'm really trying to find some more good things to say about this movie, y'all. Should I just stop there? Let me be honest, right? I'm giving you that real review. Another pun. But let's just hop into the negatives, because I'm gonna be honest, you guys. I'm not a fan of The Running Man. I hate to say it, because Edgar Wright, again, one of my favorite directors, this movie is arguably his worst film. to me. It's his weakest. The script is definitely not layered like it needed to be. I felt like, and we can start there with the writing, that doomed the movie. About halfway through, I thought that they would maybe up the ante a little bit and give us some more layers to this character of Ben Richards, and they did not. Instead, they went the opposite route, where they just continued to allow his one sole motivating factor being he wants to reunite with his family and provide for them and provide for his sick daughter. And I think that's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, honorable, and I love that. I just felt like there needed to be more, because it's something that we've seen before, very predictable, something that wasn't, to me, unique at all. And the movie didn't really necessarily have that unique Edgar Wright flair. Like, if you didn't tell me Edgar Wright directed this movie, you would never know that he directed this movie. The film, to me, was his like least Edgar Wright type of film. Even the action, you know, and I think that it's great that he took on a movie that has potential to be like a good action thriller, but the action to me felt basic here. It just, nothing was pushing a new envelope. And not that I think it needed to do that, but can you do something a little different? You know what I mean? The film itself just fell pretty flat in the writing department and in the action department. So that leaves the thriller aspect. Are there tense moments? Yeah, there are some moments that I wouldn't say are tense, but you can tell that they're upping the ante a bit. But it just never gets there. It's like a half measure. And the film itself just felt like it was lacking tension that it desperately, desperately needed to be a film that I can tell you is like worth the ride. Not that I can tell you I despise the film, but it's just lacking in some areas in which it would have kind of pushed The Running Man over for me. And when it comes to the acting, while Glen Powell does a good job, I would say for the most part, I don't know. There was nothing that was delivered by any of the actors except for Colman Domingo that actually was, I don't know, immersive to a degree. Like, maybe it's more so the script, because these are all very capable actors. Josh Brolin, Ben Richards, and why am I blanking on the actress who plays, I know I said Ben Richards, but Glen Powell's wife in this movie. It's just that for me, the film never really feels like it hits another level, and it really could have sort of been propped up a little bit more for me, and the movie would have been a little bit more worth my time, I think, if they actually had delivered some performances that sort of stuck with me. But nothing after the credits started rolling stuck with me, and I think that is so disappointing, at least for me, because this is a capable cast, like I said, and they just didn't bring the juice that I think they needed to bring for this movie to be a movie that I would say is like among some of the stronger films I've seen this year. I also felt like the film sort of loses its way midway through. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for something to really sort of pop off, and none of that happened. It instead sort of just continued with exactly the formula that we were seeing unfold for the first act and into the first half of the second act. And I was a little bummed out by that, because that's when I knew, like, yeah, this movie is just not one that is either for me or just it's not an enjoyable film. I don't know, man. I hate to say it, I just don't think it's a good movie. And I think that it's definitely disappointing on many levels, and I really wish The Running Man had a lot more layers to it to sort of put it over the top for me. So, I mean, my overall thoughts are, it's not a film that I hate by any measure. It's not a movie that I think is going to be one of the worst of the year. It's just very middling. It's sort of just always hanging around and showing that it's capable of being a good movie. It just doesn't really ever get there for me. You know, I like Glen Powell again. I don't think that this is, unfortunately, like the win for him. You know, the box office will say one thing, and I hope it does well, clearly, because hey, I like Edgar Wright and I like Glen Powell. I just am unfortunately going to predict that this is not the movie that sort of like pushes him into that, like, all right, I see a movie with Glen Powell's name attached, I'm watching it status, you know? So I hope it happens for him, because I think he, again, is a very capable actor, and I think he is likable, just not so much in this movie. But that's really, again, not his fault. It's more so the writing. There's no likable characters in this movie, and I don't know. There just wasn't enough in The Running Man for me to tell you that it's one that I would recommend. So The Running Man, for me, gets 2.5 stars out of 5. Again, not a film that I loved, not one that I hated. It's just really in the middle for me. So let me know your thoughts down below and what you think of The Running Man. Go ahead and get subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. I don't even know if I did that plug at the beginning, but if you're sticking around, it means you're a part of the real fam. So join up, like this video, and share it with your friends, unless you really like The Running Man and this is upsetting you. All right, well, there are kids crying outside, and I don't know if that's because Josh Brolin's character is here. And if that's the case, I'm gonna run. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening. No, but seriously, who's crying?